Enchas Lekelt, Lilwet Ulfkan, Statlimkan, Uchamilch. I like to talk to you about some of my thoughts on Orange Shirt Day and what that means to me. My aunt was a third generation who went to residential school, and I'm assuming that's very similar to my mom's family, and so it really put a perspective on my own experience to know that 3 generations went to residential school and my parents went to day school, and what does that mean for me as someone who has never experienced that but lives with the trauma of their experience and what I had to overcome in order to be able to speak today. I think about children starving in residential school, and I think about my aunt, my aunts and uncles not having enough food. My dad went to day schools and my mom went to day schools, so they didn't experience that. They experienced similar things, but one of them wasn't starvation. I think about that, and I think about how they had to steal food for themselves or for others, and I think about if they were caught, how they were punished. And I was like, what does that mean for me? And there was a time in my life I had a chance to speak to, I think it was like 2,000 people or something, and they wanted me to speak on how to understand what happened. And at that time I was really contemplating my own self, and it dawned on me that it was okay for me to lie to white people. And it wasn't something that I chose, it's something that I learned. And it wasn't even like big lies or anything. It was just like, oh, it's gonna save me a little bit of a hassles, and it'd just be like a little white lie, you might call it. But why would I have to do that? Where would I learn that? Why was that significant in my life? And I thought about it more and more. And I was like, well, if you're stealing food to survive and you're lying to protect yourself from being punished, then it becomes a saving technique. And so because I have all these people around me who went to residential school, it was an unconscious learning. It wasn't like they told me to do it. It was just like a subtle teaching. And then I thought, when I learned more and more about residential school, I was like, little children starving or eating rotten food or stale food or moldy food, and what that must have been like to be in a place to need to do that. And then also to witness the adults that were over you eating these beautiful meals, roast beef, pies, and I was like, holy moly, like what torture would that be? And there was this time I went to the Stein Valley, and we were going there for a week, and we were packing all our things. We had all our food in the vehicle, and we forgot a cooler full of food, like sausages and cheeses, and you're supposed to stick those in your pack, and it just got forgotten about. And and then we got set back 2 days. But at base camp, there was gonna be some elders helicoptered in, and the rest of our food was gonna be brought in. So we knew that we were gonna get food, but we went out with on our hike. We were without food for 2 days and without water for one day. And the night that we got to a water source, we all cleaned up, got lots of water, built a fire, and we had one brick of cheese left, and we cut it into small pieces so that everybody would get an equal portion. And it we sat there and we talked about Thanksgiving dinner, and that when we get back and celebrate, we are going to have a Thanksgiving feast. And we talked about mashed potatoes and yams and sweet potatoes and pumpkin pie and gravy and turkey and salmon, and we just talked about it, and we enjoyed ourselves, right? And I think about that, and I think about the children that were starving. They must have thought about their favorite foods. They must have thought about eating, especially our people, because we eat salmon and deer meat and berries, and I just love our traditional food. Like, I cherish it because I don't get to eat it as often as I'd like to. And I think they must have thought of home, and then also being with parents and being with each other, because they weren't, if you were a boy and girl, you weren't allowed to, and your brother and sister, you weren't allowed to talk to each other in residential school. And so they must have thought of those moments, and it helped them keep moving forward. And so there's this practice in our culture. When somebody passes away, we make a plate of their favorite food, and we put it in the fire for their meal, to be able to journey into the spirit world. And I was thinking of that, and I was like, this is a good way for us to share our compassion and our love and our understanding, because we have cherished memories with family, with our favorite foods in our family, and the traditions that we have in our family. And I'd like you to write those stories down and write your favorite food down. And at the assembly, we're going to put them in the fire as an offering to all those children that had starved and died in residential school, or starved and lived, to be able to mark a way of helping them in their journey, and sending it up like a prayer, to be able to know that we all share those kinds of memories. And for some of our children, they didn't get to enjoy those memories again. So really think about this and put some thoughts into it, and put your love and your heart into it, because when you put your love and your heart into that, it's going to really be received in such a good way. And I know it will lift my heart up to know that you're doing it. And to think of my aunt my great aunt who was murdered in residential school and didn't make it home, and to think of my grandfather, her brother, who had to bury her. And yeah, it just, to know that they will hear, they will understand, they will receive your love and your kindness and your compassion. Thank you. Kukstum we.